process and the framework that we're going through right now is that as we come to you, we have to prove it again and again and again and again as we go through the process, that we are meeting the master plan and that we're meeting the specifics of the plan before you. And we answer those questions as we move through the process.
Okay, good. I mean, it's just to Giannis's and Jim's, points that, we've gotten burned in the past. And dairy, I see it in the paper all the time, dairy's fighting it every winter with certain roads that are private, and, oh, gee, we don't want to take care of them, we want the town to take care of them and plow them. And I don't want to be 30 years down the road and all of a sudden, oh, well, we don't want to take care of these roads anymore, we're going to give them to the town.
You're not going to see any arterial roads that aren't owned by the town in this project.
Okay.
Who wants to go first there? Your hands were up at the same time, so.
It was going to be an early night.
Just to follow up on Mike Spell's questions about the dependability of this project as a master plan on exit 4A. With the way I look at this, it heavily depends on exit 4A. Because if you look the east side, without 4A doesn't exist. If you look anything north of Pillsbury Road, does not exist. Anything halfway south of Pillsbury Road does not exist, because 102 will not be able to take the traffic. So I thought that the master plan depends heavily on exit 4A. We believe that one day exit 4A going east will be built, because right now there's no money in the construction of exit 4A going east even in a 10-year plan. Now, but going west, it will take many years to start a project from scratch, because there is no connections going west. But somehow we have to look at this, and if we were approving this project overall as for what zoning can be did, what could be built over there, that's what I look at as a master plan. But looking at the road layout, if the exit 4A is not built, whatever is proposed here, it cannot be constructed. So I think, there is maybe I misunderstood, our previous meetings, but the way I look at this, it heavily depends on exit 4A.
Let me go into a little history. Originally, we purchased properties on the east side. In 2007, the federal government mandated a westerly access to be studied later date, but to be included in this interchange 4A. That's when we actively looked at Woodmont and other properties on the westerly side. And that's what prompted what we consider to be a necessary play to acquire land on the west side, because we were going to be developing on the east side. And if you're developing on the east side and somebody has mandated, the federal government has mandated that you have to have access on the westerly side for good planning, it behooves us to then move to the other side and purchase that land as well, as a defensive move and as a development move. So the reason that we're on the west side at all is because of a federal mandate in 2007.
Giannis, I haven't forgot about you, Jim, so.
I was on the technical advisor committee. I studied exit 4A for the last 15 years and been involved with this. And then I was the one who was promoting the connection to the west. Because if town of Londonderry, because of a lawsuit, was stuck to pay $5 million for exit 4A and benefits very little if going only east, I was looking at least we should have connections to the west. It makes sense. This will be only one time this exit will ever be built. And to get only to the east and spend $5 million, right now this exit is going to cost 3 times that amount of money. Going only east, then for $10 million cannot be built. But I strongly agree that yes, it should be, and I was proposing that on those meetings, now that the feds mandated that it should be looked to the west. In those days, 10 years ago, we were promoting that this will be open space and we do not want to exit going west. I said 10 years from now, those days, who knows what's going to happen? Exactly to 10 days, I would like to say, I told you so. But that's exactly because Reggie keeps laughing. Yeah, Janusz, you kept saying that. But that's why if that exit is built, it makes sense to be built in both directions. Because at least town will benefit another access to the highway between exit 5 and exit 4. If that will serve us all the way from Litchfield Road, from Stonehenge to make a connection over there, not only from this development, it will be beneficial, the town will have that exit to the major highway. So we are not saying no, that the exit to the west should not go. It's just only that what I pointed out, that for this master plan, yes, it depends on both directions, not only one direction, but it depends on that exit 4A.
Okay, Jim?
When 4A was voted in, they promised people no west exit. Here it is, 10, 12 years later, they're talking about it. So they're talking about a 30-year master plan. That's going to change. How many times has our master plan changed?
I think about every 5 years, no.
Or so.
5
So
to
it's
7
going to
5 to
change. So
7
what you
years it
see
changes.
is not what you're going to get. The question I had the first time I spoke here is, a corporation is going to own the private roads, correct?
If there are private roads, we haven't had that discussion yet.
Corporation, condominium association is going to own the roads. What happens if the corporation goes belly up? Who's paying for the roads?
It's not what we said.
Excuse me?
That's not what we said. I don't want to be argumentative, but that's not what we said.
Yeah, I don't want any arguments anyway.
I don't want to argue, but I believe you said a corporation or private is going to own the roads and plow the roads and pay the taxes. I assume they pay taxes on the road. They're privately owned.
If they own the property, yeah.
They don't. Well, I'm wrong again. But we have a building in town that has a condominium association that doesn't pay taxes on their land. The town owns it, and they still use it. Are we going to have another situation like that?
Yeah, I
It's been
think-
going on for 10 years.
Yeah, we've learned our lessons usually the hard way. but-
I think I've told you once before, but,
Oh, yes.
so we have to watch out for that because we don't want to own the roads and maintain them because they don't meet our standards, because the snowplow alone will cost a fortune just to get rid of,
Yeah,
and we'll have to maintain them.
Dana knows that well.
So we have to be very careful. But I would suggest you look at the land and see what the best use is for the town and not the developer.
Yes,
And a 30-year master plan, that's too far.
maybe
And
change.
what are you going to build first, houses or commercial? You're going to build them both at the same time?
Mixed-use village.
I think I answered that question as well. We did decide that we're going to do both both mixed use and commercial and residential at the same time from the inception.
Thank you.
Those were my comments.
Okay. Anyone else? Board have anything?
I just want to thank everybody for coming, even if you didn't come up to speak. At least you're in the audience, and this is the best attendance we've had in, quite a long time where people haven't left after the first presentation, so thank you
Yeah,
for saying.
There'll be plenty of opportunity for input anyway, and there's various means of input. You can email us. I think one of the things you probably would need to work on is a group of abutters and close abutters and everything.
Yes.
As a line of communication and as a line of ideas and to communicate with us. There's going to be the website to get information, especially what we've had tonight. I think we got to, think about things, and I think what, Jimmy says is very important about, looking at the land and everything. There's a lot we have to really assimilate and put together. There'll be many meetings on this. And right now, we have a slot open in our agenda for December 8th for continued discussion with this. So that's, at least that's a known now. So, and like Mary, I really thank everyone for coming, and yes.
There was, one thing I forgot to mention is a little technical issue. It came up during the charrette. Mike is proposing to donate a little over an acre of land to the town for the expansion of the cemetery. And I actually laid it out and it's behind you.
Oh,
So
there's a cemetery thing here.
we'll be doing a boundary line adjustment with the town, because cemeteries aren't actually allowed in the PUD.
Yeah, I think we did, probably weren't looking at, we're thinking more the living, I guess, is.
Yeah, but as Rick is mentioning, if this land is done and the lot line adjustment is done prior to the PUD taking place, this can then be outside of the PUD, and then that donation
Okay.
could take place.
Yeah, it's probably the way.
Yeah, and I know council's very interested in this.
Are those
Happening.
plots? though?
Believe it or not, we were approached by a number of people on that at the charrette. That's where this came from.
I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions, both from the public and from the board, that we'd want to ask of the folks in the development. Do we want to, like, centralize those? Do we want to ask them direct? Do we want to pose those for the next time we come in and meet with them? So we can, I've got questions that are formulating right now, and I'd probably like to get them to them, but I don't know whether it'd become very disorganized if we don't control that. Certainly from the board.
Yeah, I mean, because you can forward stuff like.
Maybe it goes to
But
Tim, and
right
Tim,
through Tim.
presents
That'd be
them
the
to
best way,
them.
through Tim. He would be communications central, and that
Perhaps you
keeps
might,
us from sending email with
Right.
each other all over the place, which we don't want to do. Our communication will be with Tim and communicate with Tim.
So if we've got questions, send them
Send
to
them to me
Tim,
and I can
they
get them.
forward on to you guys.
and then
Okay.
perhaps you might have a frequently asked questions button on your website.
Sure.
So that,
We want to have it as interactive as possible.
right?
Good. Anything else? Any questions of us?
Thank you for your time.